Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Virginie Vitcz. I'm French. I am a mentor and advisor for thought leaders, celebrities, and business women. I'm also a Kundalini yoga specialist for modern world. And I am starting this series of interviews with strong women who are the best in their fields. And today I'm receiving Mariah. Mariah, hello. Mariah, so your name is Mariah Pelley Smith, where we can find us on the internet, brand architect, intuitive coach, and social marketing specialist. Can you tell us a little bit more about you?
Yes. So I work with humans all over the world, and the way that I use spirituality in business merges in a way where people can't say no to sacred practice. Business becomes the sacred practice, and how I move through the world embodies that understanding and being a reflection for people that I'm working with. So I'm sort of like the spy in all these different industries, creating brands and allowing them to see how much you can actually create, how much success you can create if you treat business as a sacred craft.
Wow, I love it. I love it. And of course, you create magic.
Yes, right? Lots of magic.
Yeah. So what was the most difficult challenge you encountered in your life, and how did you manage to go back on track after that?
All right. I would say I went through a lot of mother wounding in 2020, 2021. And we, in Kundalini yoga teachings, if you have any negative feelings, negative projections around the mother form, the mother in its totality, you're essentially rejecting your entire life, and that can manifest in certain ways. So I had to really go deep into certain levels of trauma with my own mother and accept where she is in her conscious level and where she is emotionally and mentally and all those sorts of things. And she had a stroke a couple of years prior to that. So then her capacity also dwindled in the way that she could process things. So I had to fully accept that situation and learn where my boundaries are of being present and in the family unit, but also understanding that my purpose and my direction is the most important thing, because I can't change the next generation, their consciousness, nervous system, if I'm focused on the past. So the way that I moved through that was a lot of Kundalini yoga, a lot of sound, a lot of crying, but also there was a moment of, if I don't choose me and my projection, then I'm choosing death. And I'll just be the living dead if I don't choose my projection.
Wow. Amazing. Okay. What would you say today to your younger self?
That all the little things that you think don't matter, those are the things that will make you great in the future. It's all of the details. It's the focus. It's the staying up till 3 a.m. because you have the energy to do so. It's just allowing that sacral force that you have as a generator to live its life and to create this architecture, because the word architecture only really came in the last year, but my whole essence, my whole way of being has always been about building foundations, but we have to marry the word that we're projecting the world with also our internal understanding of who we are. So this marrying of accepting I have a masculine essence that builds the structure, and my creative flow is creating the beauty and allowing those to marry in a certain way. But all of the things in your life are going to make you who you are. So just accept the opportunities that are coming to you.
Good. What would be your advice for a woman who is stuck in her life, has a dream, but doesn't go for it for any kind of reason?
Okay. I would say there's either two things that come up. So one is you need to completely change your external environment so that the internal has the permission to change. or you just need to sit in the internal world, and then your testing of yourself and your projection, the way that you're moving, start to change your external reality slowly. So you get to choose which way you want. And the first option is a little scary because you're like, oh, I'm in a whole new place and all new people and I don't know anyone. Blah, blah, blah. Sometimes you need that, but sometimes you want the other side. So just choose what road you want to take.
Yeah, this is what you do, right? This is, you change your external. Good. In your opinion, what are the pluses to be coached by a woman instead of a man? Because you've been coaching people.
I would say there's an instant sense of nurturing. There's, structure, blah, 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 but there's this compassion sense. There's this understanding of emotion. And we're so programmed in society that emotions are bad and you can't cry and da 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 da. But because the feminine has this instinct of taking care of when emotion arises and wants to nurture, in the coaching field, it's we're not just talking about business. It's a 360 experience. We're going to all the aspects of the human being, and emotions are a very large part of that. So as a female, most people have this natural tendency to take care of, and I feel like that's absent in some qualities of certain men that coach. Of course, there's coaches that are more balanced and have that understanding, but I know there's a lot of male coaches that are being pushed out into the ethers of the Facebook and the online that are very hustle culture and men don't cry and do it till burnout doesn't exist and all those sorts of senses. So it can be a little bit hard to enter the space as a female that wants to be coached if you only see male coaches, because there's not this comfortability or trust that you need.
Good. It's funny. The first person that I interviewed told me about nurturing too. So it's funny because you didn't talk to each other. I know. So yeah. What big problem did you encounter in your career that a man won't?
Okay, so in the last 2 months, I had this massive awareness that I've literally only worked with women, or there's a team where there's mostly women on it for my clients in the last 6 years. And I was like, that's interesting. But something healed around the masculine very intensely a couple months ago. So that all of the clients that I've had after that were men. And some of the conversations have been really interesting. It would be I think you're attractive. It'd be yeah, I think you're attractive, but the work is more important. And that statement alone, be able to have that open conversation with the man that you're working with, very profound, because it's now there's not this weird hum of anything. You can literally focus on the work. Everything is cleared out of the space. So now there's this equality in the space that I've never experienced before, because it's not oh, they just want to work with me because they think I'm pretty, or they don't value my work. So all of that has moved out of the space, just being more directive, this is who I am, this is what I have to bring. And if you have ulterior methods that you want to work with me or whatever no, it's going to be a no for me. So it's either this or I'll never see you again.
Okay. And what are you most proud about?
I would say my consistent evolution, because I
saw it. I'm proud of you. Whoa. Yeah.
But because the evolution is you have to move through. You have to do things you don't want to do, and you get to a point where the things that you thought were so big become normalized. So when people are "Oh, what are you doing now?" It's just it seems like a regular conversation, because you're inside your creation. I'm breathing my creation, so it just feels so normal. So sometimes I have to step out of it and be look at where you came from and look at where you are. And I feel there's a lot of this happening in the coaching space where people are oh, we shouldn't force this idea of trying to quantum leap every 5 seconds because you don't have the capacity at that time in order to hold that. So instead of this like big thing, why don't we just normalize evolution, normalize the quantum leap? It doesn't have to be this big and scary thing. So I'm proud of my consistency for sure.
Me too. I see you. What does it mean for you to be a strong woman in the third millennium?
I feel like there's another level of acceptance of creativity. And that's my jam. So being able to create at such a large scale, just because the energy in this realm is allowing that, it's feeding that. And because the woman, like we're a force of creation, it's like having it just feels like having the entire universe being like, like everything that you create. It's like you're working and you go into these like intense, deep works situations and you come out the other end, you're like, oh my God, did I create that? You're just like, you're impressing yourself. And that's also another teaching that Guru Jag was talking about. Like, if you impress yourself, like nothing else can get you. Like you're just so amazed by your own creation, your own projections. So thank you for this time.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. As a little girl, what did you dream about for your future life? And how close are you to this dream?
I was obsessed with being a fashion designer. So we're already on the way. Well, we are in it.
Well, you did something in fashion, right? Last year?
Yeah, I'm working on the line. I'm working on the clothing line while I'm working on the album. The symbols are on the clothes. So it's like I have to work on the album while I'm working on the clothing designs. So I'm in that creation. But I remember when I was little, like I had like duotangs, just like binders and binders of all these drawings of all these dresses. And I would go to my nan's house and I would like sew things. I would make things out of paper. Like I was just like full blown, like fashion. And then somebody was like, you're not going to make it out there. There's a lot of designers. And then I was like, oh, I guess so, But then when I started like really being in my own business, like really understanding the concept of your own.
When was that?
I would say like 3 years ago. Like I was like, oh, like I'm literally like anything that people need, I can create it because I'm a generator. I respond. And people need clothes that they can show up to a meeting with that's not going to get dirty because it's white. So we need to have specific material. You need to be able to get down and do ceremonies, and they need to be able to do a full, like, intense 2 hours of Kundalini yoga, but then also be fabulous for their next meeting. So I'm like, we need this. We need this.
Yeah,
and then
we do.
And then beyond that, we also need clothes that are holding a certain frequency. So that's where the channeling of the symbols come in, because as things get brighter and lighter, there's obviously the polarity that we have to experience as well. So it's just an extra layer of protection. So if, for example, if you want to feel, I have one called Childish Mother, a symbol called Childish Mother. So it's literally the download, the distilled feeling of when you're a child playing with your mother in a field or with flowers or something, like that essence being distilled into a symbol that's on the clothes, so that when you're in certain places that you're feeling like really uncomfortable or whatever, it's like you always come back to that child innocence in that essence. So you become this, like, obviously you're doing amazing things in the world, but then you have that extra layer of projection because of all the white. And then you also have that next layer of those reminders. So then it doesn't matter what that space is where you're going, you're just like this beaming light of joy.
That's very interesting. I love it. Can you explain for the people what Sarabandam is?
Yes. So it's a Kundalini yoga kriya. So, you can do that for 26. You can do that 11 minutes, or if you want to go larger than that, but you're essentially in a triangle pose, and you're just doing like downward dog to the end of time.
Exactly. Okay.
Yes.
And a Kriya is a set of, it means action, and it's a set of movement. Okay.
Yeah. So you have to do in a specific order.
Kundalini yoga. Yeah. But it's amazing because whatever you've been practicing and also learning and teaching in Kundalini yoga, you apply to your own life and business.
Yeah.
And this is amazing. I do that too, but you're like another level. Yeah, it's about the clothes and the fashion. Can you tell us, is it ready already? Can people buy it? Not ready yet. Okay,
not ready.
But soon.
Yes, it's in the works.
Good.
It's like it's a fun process because I get to see, because it's like I'm in this massive testing because I'm moving around a lot. So what are the things that I always wear all the time? So then it's like, it's also very conducive to someone that's traveling a lot. So it's like really nice pieces that, I'm of course going to have it in white, pink, and blue in my colors. And then having that specific fabric that's literally like stain resistant and water resistant, but it also is still comfortable. So I'm like testing different fabrics and different things as I'm actually moving around, so that when it is like arrived, it's like, this has been tested by me moving around a lot. This is me living out of a suitcase and you're still looking fabulous.
Yes, that's great. I love that. Who inspired you the most when you were younger, and why?
I would say my dad, just because he came from Jamaica, and like this man, he like, sometimes he didn't have shoes. And like, he told me the story about like, there was this carnival and he literally used a glass cup, poured it with water, and walked for like 3 hours to go to this carnival. And like, they're like drinking like hot water in like the middle of, but that's all they had. So he literally came from nothing. He lived with his grandmother with like 7 other siblings. Both his mom and dad left the country. His dad went to Canada and his mom went to the States. So he essentially didn't have any parents growing up. They kind of just did. So from there, then moving to Canada and then building the life that he has now, like that's resilience, that's consistency, that's showing up, and like being able to normalize that new life that you have. So I watched, him go through his different struggles and come to a place of peace and just being happy with something that he's created. Yeah.
Great story. What would you say to a woman who thinks she is too young or too old to create her dream life?
I would say if you're young, like you get in early, like now's your time to shine. because when I talk to people, they're like, how old are you? Because obviously, we're 28 this year. And but I still
like the way you say we about yourself all the time.
I don't know. There's just we in the space.
Yes. Yeah.
But
you and your 10 buddies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I would, if you're young, you have so much more time than somebody that's like, in their mid 30s or in their 40s just starting. So it's like, use that time 50s. To play. Yeah. To use that time to like figure out pros and cons and test certain things, like use that time efficiently, because like if you wait too long, then that's when this whole buildup of creation happens in the body. So I see this a lot where there's this, so we talked about this in the class today, like cold depression. So you're, that hum of something is wrong. And like the way that I see it is you have so much creative energy and so much stuff that's stored in the body. And it's like, it's beautiful if it's coming in and then going out, but if it's coming in and staying in, then you're literally making yourself sick and you're slowly killing yourself if you don't create. Like that's essentially what's happening. So when you're in your prime, you have the energy and all the things, then use that, just play. And then And if you're doing Kundalini yoga, then it's going to be just at a next level. The things that you don't even think are good, like that could just be popping off in the universe and you could be a millionaire by like 21. Who knows? So create as much as you can in any way. And then if you're on the older scale or whatever that means, I would say do Kundalini yoga so you can reverse your aging and clear out anything that's not supposed to be in there. One, because you need a healthy, flexible spine for your vitality. And then I would say, like, live and breathe the thing that you always wanted to create. Because, you know, in society, it's like, if you're older, then you have your shit together. So because of that film that's in the space, people are gonna be like, oh, that's what you do. And you're gonna be like, yep. Like they won't even question it. So you're already gonna have this like support because of all of the life experience that you've already had. And also because you've had all that life experience, you probably literally have already learned everything that you possibly even need to create the thing. You don't have to learn on the way of creating. It's like, it's already there, it's just waiting for you to be used, because that thing that you're trying to create, your whole life has been circulating around that. So you already have all of the skills.
So true, so profound. Thank you. What are the fears of the greatest fears of the woman that you've been working with?
I would say, so when you accept your evolution, everyone's going to have a say. Your family's going to hold a certain idea of who you are. And it can be really intense when you shatter that projection in people, because then they lose their sense of self. So this is not the thing that they're saying, but this is coming up in the space when they talk about what they want to do. Because once you shatter that projection with your family and friends, and people didn't think that you're going to get there, there's so much more space, because those were tethers holding you in a certain location. So the more that you move forward, the more those things break, the more space that you have. And that would be another thing of like, there's this fear of all this space, because most of the time we're very contained. And then when we have all this space, it's like, what do I do? And you want to fill it. So you fill it with like shit that you probably shouldn't fill it with. So you have to get into this habit of filling it with beauty, filling it with creation. And one of the things that I've noticed over like the last year is the way that me just like, I'll do mantra consistently and with my headphones when I'm walking down certain streets or like whatever I'm doing. So I could be like literally chant mantra for like 10 hours if I'm doing a walking day and walking around. But people will literally come up to me and like, I don't know who you are or what you're doing, but it looks like you're floating on the ground. Like literally, like you're floating. What are you doing? And you have to be comfortable with being seen and your aura being seen at that caliber, because so much has changed. I mean, aura's changed dramatically since I left Halifax. It's like people that I know, some won't even come up to me because they're like, I don't know if I'm allowed to, you know, or it'll be like, oh my God, like, what are you doing? Or like, like you have to be okay with people being like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah. And of course, this is in the context of like, you know, aura structure. But your aura and your projection is in the same, it's moving at the same pace as the grounding of your creation, right? So the more the brilliance of the creation, the more the aura is projecting. So now I'm in like spaces where I'm just like in a cafe, everyone's just like, I know, guys, a lot of whites today. I'm still this person. I'm just louder, more ideas, making more money, and moving around more. Like, you know, I'm the same person. It just, my creation is just giving a good return, you know?
Yeah. I love that. Thank you. So what are your next projects?
Okay. So I find when people ask me that question, it's like you create something, but because of the energy of the practice, it's like it makes it more complex and bigger. So right now,
practice is the practice of yoga kundalini for people who don't understand where we are.
Anytime I say practice, that's what we're referencing.
Right, yeah, we're talking about kundalini yoga. This is how she made it. And me too.
Core.
Exactly.
So right now, like, I've noticed the major hole in all the businesses that I've had is they don't have like project management software. They don't have mind maps of how things are actually supposed to move. And because I'm a very visual human, like, it's painful for me to read a white and a black document. Like, it's painful. That's why everything is like color coded and, pictures and diagrams, and people learn differently. So this new thing that I'm bringing in is like, not only are we building your brand, but your brand is also everything that people touch on a system level, on an internal and external system level as well. So we're going to make everything pretty. We have the strategy, how we're going to put you on the world, but like, how is the actual internal movement happening? So we're going into the core of the internal movement of the business in regards to every system, every way that you do anything needs to be documented, and it needs to be in a visual so that you can actually grow. Because if you don't have a visual of that, then when people come in, they're not going to read the manual. So then that's when you have people that you're paying that aren't doing the job because they have no idea what they're doing. So that's my new initiative that I'm going to be adding in, and new services going to be happening, dropping next month to make sure that things are actually moving in a clean and clear way. Because
how many businesses do you have, Mariah, right now?
So I have.
This is an interview to inspire all women who are scared doing something for whatever reason. So inspire women right now. Inspire us.
So Mariah International Business and Vitality Incorporated is the overlord. And then I have embodied clothing, and I have embodied academy, where all the courses and all that kind of stuff is. And then I'm also partnered with an app, a conscious connection app. So when I was in New York, the way that things aligned, I was offered the spot as the marketing and branding head. So I've created all the branding.
So last year you were in New York.
Yeah.
The year before you were in Halifax, then New York, then Toronto, and now Halifax again. But when you were in New York, what happened?
I was literally brainstorming the idea for this app with another Kundalini yoga woman. And then when I went to New York, another friend connected me with someone that already had like pretty much a thing built out in the first draft. And then they're like, if you wanted to do something, what would you do? Because they liked my story and all that kind of thing. It's like, well, of course I would want to do the branding. And of course I would want to do the strategy of marketing. You're like, you're in. And I'm like, okay. So I was literally like, he's like, you're in. And then I'm literally walking down to the subway. I'm like, what just even happened? So now it's been a year. We finished the deck. It's immaculate. And then now it's off into investors' hands.
Okay.
So it's
okay. So that was for business right now.
Yes. And then right now I'm in communications with an organizing company, of course.
Generate, organize, deliver or destroy. GOD.
I'll be delivering in this sense. Well, we'll be destroying some things in order to deliver other things. But yeah, so we're in communications on what that partnership is going to look like as well.
Okay. Yeah. So you're 28 and you have 5 businesses. Good. Good. Perfect. So how can people reach you? Tell us.
So mariahinternational.com, at mariah.pellysmith on the Instagram. Literally, if you just put Mariah Pelley Smith in the Google, you'll find me.
Yes.
And obviously on the website, all the email things will be there. But if you want direct email right now, it'll just be hello@mariahpellysmith.com. So,
okay, great. Thank you so much, Mariah. It was really great having you. And I'm sure you're going to inspire many, many women out there. Thank you so much. And see you very soon. Thank you.